Hi, everyone. It's Kelly from Tutoring Tips for Teachers. And today I have a very, very special treat for us. I have a very special guest who is a great friend of our Tutoring Tips for Teachers Facebook group and YouTube channel, and who has helped us out so much. It is Michael Gibben, Tutor Coach.
Hello.
Yes, hello, Michael, Tutor Coach
Hi.
extraordinaire. And I'll give you a little bit of background on Michael. So, Michael, with his background in education and business, uses his 15 plus year career to now lead anxious and introverted entrepreneurs like himself to find their paths to success. A TEDx speaker and keynote presenter at global business events, Michael's approach champions entrepreneurs to overcome their mindset barriers and achieve their utmost business potential. Michael is also an author, a podcaster, and of course, a coach for tutors. Welcome, Michael.
Well, thank you, Kelly, for the warm welcome. It's great to be here. Hello, everybody.
Hello. This is so exciting because some of this is new in your bio, like the TEDx talk, that's new, right? That's that's um that's something that has just happened pretty recently, and it's very, very exciting.
Yes, I was in October. So yeah, it was a talk on transforming your anxiety into your ally, and the TEDx Aurora team is editing it, so it will be out soon. Stay tuned.
Yes. And when it is out, you're going to hear about it right here first. You're going to hear about it in the Tutoring Tips for Teachers Facebook group because I'm super excited about that. And this is a new this is something new as well, that you're really focusing on entrepreneurs who have issues with anxiety and being introverted.
Mhm.
And that's really exciting because I think that a lot of tutors can probably identify with that for sure. And yeah, and that leads me to my first question. So can you tell us a little bit more about your journey as being an introvert and an entrepreneur or tutorpreneur specifically?
Sure. Well, so really with my own journey, I've been an anxious introvert for years. My whole life, I've been anxious and introverted. And when I decided to open my own tutoring company in 2011, I mean, in addition to being green about the business side of things, I also recognized, well, if I'm going to start a business, and if it's going to be, I'm going to be a solopreneur, I'm going to have to get the word out there somehow about what I do. And I struggled with the anxiety and not wanting to really interact with people, and then the introverted side, I really wanted to just be on my own and energize that way. And so my business coach in 2014 was like, Michael, you got to get out there. If you want this to grow, you got to get out there, go to a networking group and talk about your business. And I remember looking at him and I'm like, are you serious? I'm like, I'm an anxious introvert, and my way to overcome my fear of getting out there is to get out there with a bunch of people. I didn't put the two and two together that you should give this a shot. So I remember, and I put the post out on social media this week. I went out to my first networking event in 2014, and it was rough. Like, my anxiety was through the roof about, oh, you're not gonna be able to do this. You can't do this. My introverted side was like, I just want to recharge at home. I don't want to have to go and go to this big event and have to talk about my business. I really fumbled through my, 60-second, elevator presentation and was very nervous the whole time. And afterwards, a couple of tenured members came up to me to talk, and I thought, oh no, they're going to tell me thanks for coming, and that's it. Thank you for being here. Goodbye. But instead, they gave some great constructive feedback to me and said, Michael, why don't you try this before next meeting? Why don't you try this to help calm your nerves? Why don't you try this to, and I thought, oh my gosh, what great ideas. And so before the next meeting, I took time to prepare my 60 seconds, really hone what I was going to talk about, took time to think about, okay, how can I take small breaks if I'm feeling a little overwhelmed at the event? And just thinking of different strategies. And the second event I did, again, it was still a work in progress and still always will be. There's always that work in progress. But at the end of that meeting, I got my first tutoring lead from the group, and I was able to give a
Nice.
lead. And then I joined the group, and the ball really started to roll for my business from there. And yes, in terms of financially and client numbers and tutor numbers, all those went up significantly with joining. BNI was the group I joined, but it was more about gaining the confidence as an introvert, and not saying that, all introverts are not confident. There's many confident introverts out there, but for myself, it was gaining that confidence to speak as an introvert and work within my skill sets as an introvert to really grow as a leader and as a networker. And it really became a passion over, especially over the last, couple years, to really start helping others in this area. And it's been amazing.
That's really great. I love that. And you are like the ultimate networker too. You are you are like amazing at connecting people. So that, and that's a real strength that you have. And I think that a lot of people that are teachers who
Mhm.
are moving into the tutoring business are going to really be able to relate to what you've said, even if they are not naturally introverts. But I
Mhm.
know many of us are. I know I am. Believe it or not, I try. I've had to like put myself out there too, and you have to kind of train yourself to do that. But I know a lot of people who, even if they're not naturally introverts as teachers, we're kind of like almost trained in a way to just sort of like
Mhm.
lie low, keep to yourself. And one of the biggest challenges that most of us face when we go into the tutoring business is putting ourselves out there because it's so unnatural to us. So I think that a lot of us are going to really relate to this in a big way. And what are some of the biggest obstacles that introverts face, do you think, as entrepreneurs?
Well, I think, I really like what you said there about, as introverts, first of all, that we have to get out, we want to get out there because introversion and anxiety and shyness are all different arenas. And so
Mhm.
for introversion, it's really about your energy level, how you spend it, where you gauge it from. But like you said, we do need to. A lot of us are introverts, and after a teaching day, you really need to recharge, and after a networking event to build your business, you really need to recharge. But some of the roadblocks and obstacles I found initially were being really overlooked sometimes, being viewed as aloof because when I would sit with a group of people, I really tune in, but people were thinking I'd be tuning out. And as well, I would go to events, and I don't know because introverts are performers. A lot of us are very exuberant performers when we're at events. We can really put on okay, let's go. And 36% of us are introverts. There was a study done in the UK recently, Kelly. 36% of all entrepreneurs are introverts from the study they did. And I think there is that misconception that if you're at a networking event, you got to be the big, boisterous, loud, exciting one. And automatically that means you're an extrovert. And if you're quiet, you're an introvert and a wallflower, and you're not going to get far in the networking world and in the business world. And those are all like those are fallacies. That is not necessarily true. I think as introverts, something areas that we really need to work on is again, really finding our best strategies to communicate at networking events and sharing. Because again, being like that big, loud, go, 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 talk, talk, talk is not necessarily what we're going to want to do. And as well, we are very reflective. Introverts are often times very reflective people, and we really like to think things through. And sometimes that overanalyzing can lead to us having some struggles in our leadership because we really take a lot of time to dwell on things. I know for myself, that was a big thing, was that overanalyzing piece. And I really had to, still something I work on.
That's good. That's good to know. And do you think that that some of these strategies that because because you have a webinar coming up that we're going to talk
Mhm.
about soon, and you'll be teaching us some of these strategies. So some of the strategies that you're teaching that can help people at networking events, would those also be applicable to helping people get out there on social media, in yeah, I'm thinking about how tutors would market their business. Primarily, it's on social media. So to get out there on social media, to get content out there in forms of like a YouTube channel or a blog or something like that. Would these strategies help somebody in that respect as well?
Excellent. That's a really good question. With social media, kind of going back, I guess, through my own journey and some of the journey I've talked with some of the people I've discussed this with. I remember when the pandemic started, and I moved to starting to do online videos for my Facebook group, and I remember being so nervous about how it looked. How did I sound? Was I going to be able to convey the message properly? So there was, again, some anxiety in there mixed with the introversion, but and I felt, oh, this is going to be so draining to have to keep this up and be engaging with people constantly. but you can navigate that. It's really about practice, practice, practice what you're going to say beforehand. And then watch, maybe do a practice video, watch yourself, see how you're interacting, and maybe show it to a few close people that that you really that you in your trust circle, or people that you really would like to share it with. Get their feedback and then put it out there on social media, and set certain time parameters for yourself as well. Of, this is my time I'm going to engage, this is my recharge break, this is my time I'm going to engage, this is my recharge break. And it gives you the chance to really recalibrate your energy, so you can go out there and still do all these things without the feeling of potential overwhelm of, oh my gosh, how am I going to keep all this up, and how am I going to interact with all these people, and still keep my energy, in a good place as well.
I love that. That's really good advice. You have to find the balance because otherwise it can be really overwhelming, but it is totally possible. Like you can train your brain to do anything. So
Hmm,
you can, yeah,
absolutely.
it
And
can
even
be,
with, oh, sorry, go ahead.
yeah. Oh, no, 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 you go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, with even just with students, when I was teaching online, and I remember, and again, this was initially stemmed from being nervous and anxious, and again, those are not necessarily directly correlated with the introversion. Those are different things. But I remember the first time I went on Outschool and did some online tutoring first with Outschool, and I remember being so nervous about talking to kids online in a group setting. I thought, oh my gosh, I can't do this. This is so outside of my wheelhouse. Even though I've been working with students for years in an in-person atmosphere, and it just, again, what I did to help put myself refocused and also prepare for the next set of students was, I would, right as soon as a few minutes before the lesson started, I would take 10 meditative breaths and just get myself calm and get myself refocused, and give myself that little energy boost doing that. Work with students and give myself a short break between students to just, again, recalibrate the energy so you can put your best self forward. Because again, a lot of introverts are performative as well, and just you can give your best self, but make sure to find those energy breaks for yourself to recharge your energy so that you can really, again, refocus on helping others. But you got to help yourself first to be able to help others.
That's so true. Yeah, and that's really, really good advice. I think that is really true. Otherwise, we'll burn ourselves out.
Mhm.
And now, what do you think are some advantages that introverts have in the business world and even in the tutoring world?
Oh, absolutely. So with introverts, like, there's some fantastic superpowers that we have, that it just takes time. Some people innately know that they're there and are able to cultivate them, which is fantastic. For myself, it was a little more of a journey, and for others, it's a little more of a journey. So some of the big ones are, we are very observant and perceptive. Because, like, I know for myself, whenever I go to a networking event, or if I'm working with a group, I take a lot of time. Even when I was working with other tutors during meetings, I would be the one watching and kind of taking in a lot of what's going on. And that skill is very helpful, because it gives you that sort of a sixth sense of what's going on, and keeping your thumb on the pulse of your leadership, your business, because you have a great ability to recognize the body language, tonality, all those different shifts that are happening within your business, because you're taking the time to really observe and perceive. As well, we're really good at reflection. We're deep thinkers, introverts, and we quite often will reflect on what's happening, which can be really important. If there's a situation that's like positive situation is great, you're going to think about how can you reward maybe a tutor, or how you can celebrate a student's achievement. But with reflection, it's more of the, what if something goes sideways, or something negative happens, or perceived as negative. We take the time to reflect and think before we act, which can be very helpful, because if you jump in with a reaction, that's going to potentially lead to a negative consequence, versus taking the time to think. But that, going back though, we have to make sure not to overanalyze, because some things need to be addressed quicker than sometimes we take. And the big one, which is, this was kind of fun, Kelly. I put it on my social media, and I think you were part of the color exercise I did a couple of weeks ago for
Yeah.
introverts, of the different skills and which ones we can excel at, which ones we're still working on. And the number one area that I think that came up the most for ongoing improvement is active listening, which is something that introverts we have, but sometimes we have it can be sometimes a compulsion as introverts to want to jump in at a point because we're like, we should probably say something because we've been quiet maybe for too long and we're kind of just taking everything in. Or we might be assuming where the conversation's going, and so we might jump in with something. So that's an area that we're really good at, but it's just more we have to build up. Okay, how do you actively listen, and also recognize active listening is beyond just our ears. It's in
Mhm.
our it's in our eyes, it's in our, you know, it's recognizing and using our other senses to see what's going on and to respond
That's
in kind.
Yes, that's so true. Those are really good examples, and they really help. I think they really help too at tutors, specifically because especially when you're working with students or when you're communicating with a parent, because I find that I notice that for myself, and I'm an introvert too, but some people will say, no, you're not. You're you're on YouTube and all this stuff. But no, I actually am. But I like I said before, you can train your brain to do anything, right? But I noticed that I can read the room pretty easily, like when I'm tutoring kids, and I
Yeah,
can like right away catch when things are need to like I can just churn the course before it gets off course, right? And
yeah.
that's a pretty amazing superpower that we can have as tutors and as teachers, because we can really like build that amazing rapport with kids so that they're always, feeling great, right? During the
Yeah,
whole lesson. Yeah, and that's really nice.
absolutely. And I love what you said about, you know, I guess there's that moment of perplexion where someone, perplexion is not a word, but perception, I should say, when someone says, "You're an introvert? Really? You were so active and on with with my child. You're an introvert?" And or people saying that at networking events, "You're an introvert? Really?" And like you were saying earlier, it's like we can be present for students and on and engaged, but also it's because as teachers, that's sort of that you know, that's part of the deal. You really want to be engaging your students so they're hooked into what you're doing and they're engaged in the process as well. And with tutoring, a majority of tutors are doing one-on-one. A lot of them are doing group as well, but a lot of us are one-on-one. And that's where introverts thrive. We love
Hmm.
one-on-one. We can go forever on a one-on-one. It's just that more so that again very advantageous as well in the tutoring sphere because we really have these introvert skills and we're also in our environment where we really enjoy that conversational piece.
Yeah, that's so true. It's really the perfect place, and when you compare that to a whole classroom in a busy school, but
Hmm.
that's just not that I found
Oh,
that was not the place to thrive as an introverted educator. But tutoring in a small group or one-to-one, that is
hmm,
it's totally where it's at, I find, for me anyway. So now these are some great things that we're going to learn at your webinar. And I
hmm.
think even like as introverts who want to start our own business, who want to, become like, everyone starts off as a solopreneur, right? And like you said before, then you have to learn how to do it all. And then eventually you become like the leader of a team. And all of this could be a little bit like, oh my gosh, if you're an introvert, scary. But we can do it. And like you said, we have these superpowers that make it more than possible. And you have a webinar coming up where you're going to teach us how to really leverage our skills as introverts. So tell us about your webinar, how we can sign up, when it is, and all of that.
Sure. So the webinar is called Build Your Introvert Superpowers to Gain New Clients. It's going to be this Wednesday, January 24th from 12 p.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern Time. And for all people, it's a free webinar. If you sign up, you will get access to the replay. No worries. What we're going to learn about is really some of the myths of introversion. We're going to then go through the 5 introvert superpowers that make you an amazing communicator. We're then going to explore the X factor of can you use these powers to gain new clients? And then how can some ways that introverts confidently succeed in business? Because introverts are excellent leaders. They can be wonderful networkers and can really make some powerful connections. And it's time that, again, we continue that quiet movement because introverts are wonderful and it can provide a lot of value to the world and we can all thrive. So that's what this webinar is about. And if anybody has any questions, please feel free to reach me at michaelgibben@gmail.com. To sign up, just go to www.michaelgibben.com.
That's so exciting. I'm really excited about this, Michael, because this is a whole new, this is coaching like from a whole new angle where we can really like tap into some skills that we have as introverts, or even as, teachers who are used to kind of like laying low, and we've maybe, tucked part of ourselves away. We can tap into those skills and utilize them to build a great business. So this is really, really exciting. Thank you so much for sharing this with us here. I really appreciate it. We all appreciate it. It's going to be awesome. It's a great
Oh,
opportunity.
well, thank you, Kelly. I really appreciate time today with you as a fellow introvert, connecting with you, and always love being here as a guest and being part of your wonderful community. It's great.
Well, thank you so much, Michael. And I will put in the description box below, I'm going to put all the information for Michael's webinar, his Facebook group, so you can get all the info down there. And I'll see you at the webinar. It's going to be pretty awesome. Thank you so
Yeah.
much, Michael.
Thank you, Kelly. Bye for now.
Bye.
Bye.